Alright, so today we're going to have a first look at Dehaka in StarCraft 2. Now, I'm right here in Cologne, Germany at Gamescom, and he got announced last night over here at the event. Now, so far I've played a couple of games with him. He seems pretty straightforward. You get to command Dehaka himself on the battlefield. He's recommended for experienced players, although generally speaking, that part doesn't really matter all too much. But he does play very, very differently than the other Zerg commanders in the game do. Now, as far as his units go, we've got the primal zergling right here, we got the Revisor, and we got a whole lot of other upgraded versions of the different kinds of units. And I'm in particular interested in what the Tyrannosaur looks like, which is a heavy assault beast that I'm pretty sure that it will morph off of 2 Ultralisks instead. Now, so far, we are only at level 4. The build that we are currently playing right here of the co-op game just simply only runs level 4 commanders. I don't quite want to spoil myself just yet over all of the higher level upgrades here, but it should be pretty straightforward. Now we're going to jump into a hard mission right here, and I'm playing together with none other than Winter. Alrighty, so here we are. Now besides Dehaka, there's also a new map called Malwarfare, which definitely does play a little bit differently than the other maps that are currently available as well. We'll go over that in just a second. Here we have it.
Many personalities were stored here for AI conversion. One of them turned out to be more than we could handle. This Tal'Darim, once a prisoner, has escaped and corrupted our systems to create his own forces. You must help me restore our control.
Alrighty. So the first thing to note is that there's no creep spread here whatsoever. We are obviously the primal Zerg. Second thing to note is as well that we start off at the maximum amount of supply that we can have in total. So we're already set right here to 24 out of 200, which is quite significant. Next thing to note is that Dehaka himself spawns out of a little den, and he starts off as a level 1 hero. However, we can get abilities on him every single time that he levels up and he kills stuff. So for example, I can go out on the map and kill something with this guy real quick. Let's see if I can find something here. I can devour, for example, one of these roaches, and you can see his experience bar right there at the top will indeed start going up. Now, he is going to be able to fight there for a little while longer, but the most important thing here as well that confused me for just a little while is the fact that the Primal Hive, so the hatchery kind of thing that we start off with, only really helps us out when it comes to the drone production. So right now, for example, by the way, we're level 2, so I can get another ability here if I absolutely want to. But the Primal Hive right here only helps out with our drone production. If we want to actually make some units, we're going to have to make sure that we create ourselves a Warden. Now, a Warden is essentially a unit-producing structure. It is pretty straightforward in the sense that it quite literally is just the way that you're going to start spawning units on the map. But the cool thing about it is that it doesn't actually come from one single like Zerg hive or hatchery. It just simply comes from a Warden here instead, whereas the hive just focuses on the larva production, and then also actually the primal attack upgrades are right here. So I've already spawned in a couple of the extractors, which also come in from the hive. But I think we'll next up focus right here on the research of primal attack as well. I guess we can fight for a little while longer. No particular reason not to. Now, the buildings actually don't give any essence, like no experience right there, so that's a little frustrating, but all things considered, pretty straightforward right there with Dehaka. He's going to level up himself, and not only does he become stronger, he also actually becomes bigger, so the longer the game lasts, the more powerful he will become. Next up, what I also want to show you is indeed the fact that we can make a second base. Now, the expansions on this map on Malwarfare, oh, there we go. Not available right from the get-go, but there we go. Let's go ahead and construct some Zerglings right now as well. So like I said, the Zerglings actually spawn straight out of the Warden here rather than out of the hatchery. So it's a little bit different. We can indeed build on creep, by the way, but I don't have any particular use for creep, I don't think. Now, these are the Zerglings right here. Now, I spent a little bit of money there. They don't actually come, 2 Zerglings in one egg, but we can make them fight each other. And when they fight each other, obviously they're primal Zerg, the strongest one will survive and become a more powerful version of itself. And we get a new unit called the Revisor. Not to be confused with Bulbasaur, completely different unit. But essentially how it works is that we can just simply start upgrading all of the units that we got by simply spending the money and, then making them fight each other, which maybe is a little aggressive. But it works quite well. Now, Dehaka once again leveled up, so I'm just simply going to get all of the abilities. He can jump around, making him look like Godzilla. He can also start pushing in. I'm actually going to go ahead and get another one of his Wardens, because we're going to need a couple more if we want to make this worth our while. But he can jump around. He can also use Intimidating Roar, which is basically a debuff to the enemies. Also very helpful. And last but not least, he can also start spewing some fire, besides, of course, the Devour already that I showed you just now, where I'm able to consume the enemies that I've got. Now, we do need to make sure on this map, by the way, that we defend this transport here. So I'm going to go ahead and do exactly that. The next thing that is pretty important about this commander are these top bar abilities right here. So there's 3 different primal zergs that we can actually call to our aid here as well. The first one is going to be none other than Glavik. Secondly, we also have got, and I'm going to have to check that out, we got Malwarfare, and then we have Deck Run as well. Now, we basically can only make one after each other, so I'm not going to be able to construct all of them right from the get-go. But they're going to be able to, they're actually going to be able to help us out quite a bit as well, because they're basically our most powerful cooldowns in this game. And that's essentially what we're going to need. We're going to need quite a bit of that. Next up, interestingly enough, our hives can actually move around, and they can also attack. So we're quite literally playing Night Elves right now in StarCraft 2. For now, though, they're literally just going to be meant here for the drone production. I'm going to get some extractors here as well. And in the meantime, I do want to make sure as well that I don't quite lose my my main objectives. Because, well, we're going to have to make sure that we defend this transport here for a little while. Essentially, on this map, we're going to go past 5 different transport terminals. And eventually, we will be able to complete the mission that way. Now, this mission is actually rather tricky in comparison to some of the other missions that are currently available in StarCraft 2. Some of them are pretty straightforward, but this mission is actually pretty tricky. I've already lost it a bunch of times just by simply not paying close attention. So we do have to do exactly that. All right, so I got my first one of the primal zerg leaders done. I'm going to construct a second one right here as well, but they all function essentially the same way. So first off, all of these buildings, all of these different dens, I suppose, have got different upgrades. So for example, I can increase the attack range of my Ravissars, and I can get some strength increases just right there. And that is obviously the main use right there of you know, all of the Zerglings and then also the other units that we got. I can basically upgrade them, right? Now that I've got the first den done, however, I can also start constructing some roaches. And secondly, I can also start constructing some Hydralisk here too. And eventually we're going to be able to get the Swarmhost out and then also the Ultralisk. Now also though, at the top panel there are 2 cooldowns. Now the ones on the right here are basically the 3 primal pack leaders. Those are pretty important too. Gotta be a little careful. Oh, get out of there. Perfect. But they are essentially the primal pack leaders, and they are going to be really powerful cooldowns. The one right here on the left is a little bit different in the sense that I can actually put that one down to get myself a lot of additional strength. So this is essentially like a spine sport crawler combination that can also detect units. So I can spawn in this worm right here, and it will actually start dealing damage. There we go. So the worm will actually be able to get spawned anywhere on the map. If you need any detection anywhere, you're going to use that to deal a bunch of damage, and it's just going to be essentially a free cooldown that you can plant down every, I think it's every 110 seconds or so, and they stack up as well, which makes them quite useful. All right. So I just got my final workers for this game. I'm going to start up +2 armor there as well, which should be very helpful. And I think that we can also very soon construct the 3rd of our primal Zerg buildings. So I want to make sure that I get deck runs den here next once I get the gas for it, which apparently I currently don't just got enough for. We need 300 of it, or 200 right there, in order to construct that den too. Now currently all of these upgrades here are indeed locked for me, so I'm not going to be able to use that. But we'll be able to get those out, you know, once we level up a little bit more on the Dehaka. Alrighty, so now I got the other den done. I'll go ahead and construct some swarm host here too. Let's have a quick look if I can actually maybe make some of my Hydralisk fight each other. I don't actually think I can. No, currently I can. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be able to morph them into impalers rather than lurkers. I'm assuming that is also done by fighting each other. And the same goes for the roaches actually. They don't quite morph into ravagers. Let me go ahead and pick up that. There we go. The juicy evolution right there. We don't just get ravagers, but we actually get a more powerful roach instead. So it works out a little bit differently. But all things considered, essentially all of our units can fight each other and do some damage. Now, here's the first of the pack leaders. This one does not move, and she basically deals an awful lot of damage. That's essentially what it comes down to. I can use Deep Tunnel to actually move her around the battlefield if I want to, which is obviously pretty cool. Like, for example, right now, we are already moving on to the high ground, and I guess I can Deep Tunnel her into a different position, and she can deal damage there. And secondly, we of course have got the second one here too, which is a Swarm Host. That one deals an awful lot of damage too, and this one is from, I believe, the Heart of the Swarm campaign. May have been the Legacy of the Void one, I'm not entirely sure anymore. Or actually, it may have been a Nova Covert Ops missions. Anyway, long story short, all 3 of these commanders are really powerful. The dens themselves contain upgrades for our units. And apparently we're currently in a little bit of trouble, but luckily we got a worm that we can go ahead and use to basically kill all of those units while still protecting the main objective. Now, Winter is currently picking up... he's currently picking up the objective point there. Now, Dehaka has died. That was actually not on purpose, but I wanted to show you what that does as well. So when Dehaka dies, he obviously respawns again from his den, right? However, you can rally in workers to make it so that he respawns faster. So he quite literally consumes it, and we can then deep tunnel him back towards the main fights if we want to. Now, obviously, it takes quite a bit of skill, because I've got a lot of different abilities here that I can use all the time. And Deep Tunnel does have a rather long cooldown as well, so I don't want to, quite waste that ability all the time. But it's awfully strong. Like, there's a lot of potential here in this hero. He's not an easy one to play in comparison to some of the others. But he's really very powerful when you play him efficiently. Now, I think we do want to get ourselves some Ultras here if we can. Maybe some Zerglings here too. Let's make some of the Roaches fight each other. There we go. Look at them. They're quite literally fighting each other. And then a more powerful Roach emerges. There it is. Alright, cool. Now, on this map, there are these towers that are a little annoying. I guess we can use Deck Run, the third one of the commanders here, who can charge all over the battlefield to start fighting here for us as well. And we can just basically call for their aid whenever we please. Considering we're up against a Zerg Baneling composition, I guess I'm going to be focusing on primarily as many Ultras as we can, and then, get some Zerglings and Roaches as well when we run out of gas. Roaches, of course, not that expensive when it comes to the gas count. But all things considered, it's a combination of playing with primal Zerg units that can easily be upgraded and can indeed improve. You play with a lot of dinosaurs. You play with Godzilla himself while he's jumping about, dealing a lot of damage that way. He can consume. He get a lot of separate cast himself too. And last but not least, of course, the fact that we can summon in these primal Zerg leaders, which actually all do a lot of damage too. So it does require quite a bit of focus, because if you lose track of roughly what's going on, it becomes a little bit more tricky as well. Now, I don't think currently I can really get all too many upgrades here anymore. Yeah, I'm sure once you level up, you're gonna get way more upgrades. Anyway, let's go ahead and create a couple more wardens. I think I want to go up to about 5 in total, which is good. Oh, we gotta be careful. Gotta be careful here, Lowko. The interesting part is that the Gamescom build that we are currently playing actually runs a completely different hotkey setup than what I'm used to. I usually use the grid hotkey setup myself, and this is like the standard one here that we're playing. There's no actual way of changing it right now because, well, I guess when people play here right behind me, they don't want to set spend 10 minutes just setting up their computers. But that's alright. This means that it's a little bit more tricky for me to control. But all things considered, it seems like it's running really straightforwardly. And even at this level already, this guy is awfully powerful. He's really strong. He's really strong. So when he dies, you can basically deep tunnel your way back in towards the engagement very easily after feeding him some workers, which is nice. Let's get ourselves +2, or maybe +3 here shortly. We did just, by the way, finish up that third objective, so I guess we'll just continue spawning in a bunch of Zerglings for now so we can save up some gas and then get more and more upgrades. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the primal text level 3. And I'll do the same here for the armor. Yeah, that's 300 gas. It's quite expensive. So eventually, once you get to a higher level, you're going to be able to morph in these Ultralists into stronger units too, which is going to be really interesting. Alright. I'm going to wait for Alarak for just a little bit. There we are. Now, keep in mind, this is actually only a hard difficulty. It's not even brutal yet. And this mission is actually already rather tricky. Obviously, we only got low-level commanders here, which, makes it a little bit more difficult as well. But you can imagine what it would look like if he gets to level 15. He's just going to get more and more strong. He's going to get more and more powerful. Let's go ahead and make a couple of swarm hosts as well. Let's spawn Locust, Primal Locust. And I think it's time for another one of my Primal Zergs. I don't think I want to really save up that cooldown all too often. It's not really worth it. And most of these abilities on the Primal Zerg, with the exception of Deck Run, are all on auto cast. At the very least for right now. Maybe a little bit later it's gonna be a little bit different. Mr. Daiwa, thank you for the resub. I appreciate that. Thank you. A couple of roaches. I guess we can make them fight each other. Can we? Can we though? Oh, apparently. Wait, right now it doesn't? I'm not entirely sure. Sometimes it seems to work out a little bit differently. Although, oh, no, actually, this one is timed, apparently. Alright, fair enough. Let's go ahead and regroup with some of our army here instead. Very good. Make sure that everyone is grouped up together. There's quite a lot of ultras here. 6 ultras, or 6 colossus rather. Just simply hanging out. I guess they're there for the defenses. There we go. Now we can actually move these wardens over as well, which is pretty cool. Like, for example, just like you can with Stukov, you can put them in a different position. You can put them in a different position and just simply rally a little bit closer towards the engagement. Now these things, I guess they can fight as well. They don't really do a lot of damage. They're not particularly impressive. There we go. We'll use that one for defense, and I guess we'll just continue pushing in. Okay, guys, please burrow. I need to construct more things. I don't know if it's worth, like, moving them over, to be honest, because they're kind of slow and dumb. They don't, like, speed up on creep or anything along those lines. We can also consume more units, by the way, on Dehaka to make him, you know, get flying attacks and whatnot, and make him, like, deal more damage, which is pretty good, too. All right, now we can start constructing some ultras again. Not bad. Maybe some zerglings too. There we go. Once you get a bunch of these unit-producing structures, just like you do with Terran Protals and Terran Protals, you just simply start getting a lot more units out as well. I initially only started making like 2 or 3 or so of these Primal Wardens. You definitely are going to look to get a couple more if you want to play them efficiently. I guess these Colossi can deal with that. Or I guess the Wraith Walkers. They should be able to deal with that just fine. Alright, here we go. Let's try and see if we can actually group up some units together. I think the only like reliable anti-air here we have is going to be the Hydralisk. Like, Dehaka himself by default does not actually hit air. But you can like consume air units and he's going to get their attacks as well. So it's actually, it's rather complicated how it all like fits together. Well, I think we should be good. Alright. Let's go ahead and actually saturate that gas. I just realized that apparently it wasn't properly saturated yet. I think we're just focusing on a lot more Zerglings here for the time being. I can just make them fight each other for a while. Go ahead. Go ahead, guys. Fight each other. Give me some of those Bulbasaurs. Or Revisaurs. One of the 2. There they are. And they're like a completely different unit as well, which is rather cool. Do you think we're going to need any detection here? Yeah, we are going to need some detection. Well, luckily I got some worms there. Okay, good. Go ahead. Get him in there. And we'll go ahead and clean up the high ground here as well, because there's probably going to be some struggles coming from there in just a little bit. Very good. He can indeed devour pretty much any unit, by the way, in the game. So right there, for example, right now he's at level 10, which is the max. I just consumed one of those hybrids in one hit, which is insane. Like, the hybrids are extremely powerful. And apparently that heals up my unit as well, which is, you know, a big deal.
Hold fast. I recommend taking out that suppression tower quickly.
Okay, getting more Bulbasaurs. And there's another suppression tower over here. I feel like this composition is actually pretty decent. Maybe I should get some more Hydralisks in there. But the Ultras, once you get to max upgrades, are really strong. Look at those guys, though. How cool is that? Like, they deal a lot of damage from a distance. These guys morph off of Zerglings. Right? Those are Zergling morphs. You can get those really easily. You have to be careful, though. That was the 4th objective point just now, and that one already took quite a bit of damage. Now she does heal up. She does heal up while she's inside of that transport thing. But the next and final objective point is going to be a little tricky. Now, luckily, Winter did take care of all of the. Oh, you can't actually move. Luckily, Winter did take care of all of the bonus objectives. I guess I'll move my units away. They're a little bit silly. Like, you can also attack with one of the primal hives, and then apparently also with these things, but they deal like no damage. They're not quite as strong as like Ancient of Wars. Oh, apparently one of them wanted to come along and fight with us as well.
I will depart soon.
I don't think we really need to worry too much about that. All right. Anyway, the longer obviously your play is, the more, you know, income or the more, you know, cooldowns and upgrades and whatnot you're going to be able to find as well. And I think that if you find like one playstyle you really like on Dehaka, you're going to be able to pretty much shut everything down. He seems to do more damage than the other commanders in the game. At least from like just playing a couple of games on him right now, right? It's a little early to call that. But like there's a lot of like min-maxing that I could potentially be doing on him. Right? Like I'm not really using my spells here nearly as effectively as I could, and like there's a lot of like optimization, I guess, that you can do on this commander that may not always be possible on some of the others. I feel like Alarak, for example, is another one of those commanders that can easily be optimized quite a bit as well. I actually haven't played very Revizor heavy at all, but it seems really quite good. Where is it? I'm not seeing the Hybrid Dominator. I think it may have already died. I can consume those in like one hit. Normally they take a lot of damage. There we go. Consuming them all. Alright, let's get the Hydras. Need some anti-air in here as well. We can see though, the spending right now is pretty straightforward. The spending right now, yeah, it becomes a lot easier the longer the game goes. Just if you got a lot of income, you gotta be able to use all of those. Okay, we gotta be careful here. But you can use all of those wardens once you can properly support like 5 or so of them. You basically don't run out of larva anymore. So instead of like queen injects, it all comes out of a separate building. So you just make more, you know, sort of like hatcheries instead. Now, this last point is a little tricky. I'm going to go ahead and use my cooldowns for this objective point. And the cooldowns are, of course, the different primal pack leaders. I'll go ahead and use the first one here first, I suppose. So here we go. She's pretty strong. I don't think the second and the third ones are necessarily stronger than the first. Although I may be mistaken, of course, once again with upgrades. It's currently at the objective point here, too. I'll go ahead and provide some detection for him. Okay. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. Alright. Oh no, he lost apparently all of his units. Oh, this may be a failure. Maybe level 4 commanders are not quite enough to complete this one on the hard difficulty. I think that's a good thing though. We need to kill that tower. The tower is a pain. The suppression tower doesn't only like halt a lot of the progress, but it also hurts us. Yeah, there we go. It was paused there for a long time.
At least something is going right.
My units are now also apparently caught in the middle of the map with a lot of reinforcing enemy units, which is not quite what I was hoping for. I can't really use these units I can't really rally them all back though. Oh no. Oh no, I think he was trying his best at the bonus objective, but it didn't really work. I guess I'll go ahead and send him back in that direction instead and like use one of my primal Zerg commanders to try and potentially make it so that they will once again come back. Okay, coming in. We can't really leave everyone though. We can't really leave everyone. There's a lot of multitasking in this one. There we go. Alright, Dehaka, you keep defending here. I need you to evolve though. No, I need you to evolve this thing. There you go. Eat him. Consume him. Now he's going to be able to hit air too. Alright. Alright, you guys defend there. Attack that suppression tower, because this is halting our progress right now. I think actually that maybe the third one may be a little bit more powerful, because the cooldowns are rather long on all of these commanders. Or all of these primal pack leaders. 2 more.
Intervention is necessary.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to move out too aggressively.
Only 25% of the corruption remains. Tower attacks temporarily disabled my systems.
Get him.
Transport systems are near.
This is tricky. There's a second one down here as well. Trying to help out my ally.
Good work. I will have to ask for more of it.
Okay. Go ahead, move over there. I am not going to move over Dehaka, though. Dehaka, you need to defend here. I need to have some units here for defense, because otherwise we could be in trouble. I really don't want to deal with that. Yeah, there we go. Whew, good thing I sent him back. It's running real low on HP right now. I don't actually have air units. I don't actually have a whole lot of anti-air here. Okay, the Hydras are going to be able to clean this up eventually. Okay, I think we may have it. I think we may have it, just barely.
No trace of the Tal'Darim personality remains.
Whew, so there we have it, a first look at Dehaka. as well as the new map in StarCraft 2. Definitely a very powerful commander, but also a rather tricky mission. Whew, that was a good one.